There we go. Hello, everybody. Robert Aducci here, and I'm here with Timothy Brown and Christian
Hey,
Lonsing. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
And so we are going to talk about Ulysses Worlds and what we've been up to, and then we'll have some great conversations with Christian about Aventuria,
Yes.
our new crowdfunding coming up next week. But we'll talk about that when we get to it. First off, hello everybody in the chat. Jihi Freestyle HQ, welcome.
uh,
Um, this weekend we've got the Ulysses Con Online Monthly coming up, February 26th through 28th, and next month it will be March 26th through 28th. So if you're not able to make it this month, definitely watch out for the uh, details to be announced of games that we were going to run and where you can register on Warhorn for next month. There's also still games if you want to play this weekend. You can play by registering at Warhorn. And let me put that chat or that link in the chat right now. Uh, this this month, one of our new projects for Ulysses Con Online Monthlies, we're gonna have two streaming games. So
great.
Greg Gordon and John Watson will both be streaming their games on Twitch. Greg's game is Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. Pacific, and John's game is Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific. So I'll be hosting those, and uh, depending on if I think John was short a player or two, so I might even play that game.
Oh,
We'll
great.
see. But if people want to jump in, feel free to jump in. Otherwise, I'll jump in at the end if there's room. But definitely check those out. You can register as soon as you register. You'll be it'll give you you'll be clear to sign up for games. So check those out again. Sunday at 8 a.m. for John's game. If there's still slots in there, but we'll also be streaming Greg's, which is a continuation of the games that he's been running at the online con. So it's kind of like an online
Awesome.
continued story, and now that we'll start streaming it, we'll probably kind of do that every month or however often Greg wants to run those.
Terrific. So that's the HAPS that's going on with our monthly online convention. Now we're going to move ahead, talk a little bit about what's going on with the Dark Eye. Our German team just launched our first full VTT offering in German with the Dark Eye for Foundry virtual tabletop. And that's in English, and support is coming in March. So keep an eye on that on Foundry. Do we have a link for that?
I don't have the Foundry link for the German yet.
Okay.
But I can put that in. I'll grab that and put that in the notes. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, separate from that, right now on Datalic Games, they've got 90% off sale on all their Dark Eye games. That's 4 games for just $3.49 on Steam as part of their Dark Eye Universe bundle. And this includes Blackguard's Untold Legends, Chains of Satanoth, and Memoria. And we've got a link for that as well on Datalic, right?
Yeah. Yep. Just threw that in the chat.
Awesome. On the tabletop side, I know that Tayo is working on the upcoming crowdfunding for the Dark Eye. That'll be our next release in the English language for the Dark Eye, and we'll get some more details together on that to present at our next show. But Tayo is hard at work, and new products are forthcoming, so keep an eye on this space.
Definitely. So recently, Eric put some images showing off the latest molds for the Myth Journeyman crowdfunding, which we took over the IP, and we're determined to get as much of those miniatures out to folks that backed it. And so if you want to see some of those images, you can check that out on Kickstarter, the Myth Journeyman Kickstarter. And the next incarnation of Myth is going to be Myth Dawn of Heroes. And Christian, you worked on that Myth IP when we first got it. What can you tell us about your involvement there?
Yes, I was approached by Marcus to rework the rules and make them more understandable for the players. I think that was one of the main concerns. The rules themselves were working. The background is great. It's as you said, it's great miniatures and really appealing optics. But the rules, the way they were presented there, we needed to rework them. So we were kind of the first line of defense going in on that and structuring the rules like we did previously with countless other board games. And then we handed it over to Eric to finalize it. So it's now out of my hand and mostly out of Marcus' hand, and doing well, I've heard.
Can I ask you a question? When we picked up the that property from the original designers, had you played Myth, the original version, before we started on this endeavor? Did you play it back then?
I didn't play it regularly. It was part of the Ulisses deal. When the first crowdfunding or Kickstarter took place, we handled the whole European theater.
Right.
So we had lots of stuff, and back then I did the layout of the
Oh, great.
of the German version as well. Yeah. And so I was involved with that, and then had the chance to play the game. But it was kind of difficult, good looking, but difficult to understand. I noticed already back then, but that didn't change much. People still loved it nevertheless, and I think now with the new rules and new character cards and treasures and stuff, and the way that the adventures are now presented like a real story, not like a procedurally generated thing, but like a beginning and end, and like a drama with also non-combat tasks and all kinds of stuff. It's going to be absolutely great.
Terrific, thanks. I know that you had involvement then. I wanted to get you a chance to talk about that a little bit, but yeah, we're looking forward to the new version of the Myth board game, Dawn of Heroes, that'll come out a little later this year. At the same time, we're working on Tales of Legend, which is the role-playing game that's being developed for the Myth universe, and that's being put together by Ross Watson, veteran game designer. And anybody who's interested, the Kickstarter for that is on Pay What You Want on Drive-Thru RPG. Even now, you can get a hold of that and start figuring out your involvement in Myth Tales of Legend. It's definitely worth checking out. We've got a link for that we'll put up in the chat as well. Right, Robert?
Yep, just put that up there. There's also, you can watch JM run the Lost Barrow, the starter set, the quick starter adventure, and that's on YouTube. I'll throw that link up there as well. And Freestyle HQ asked if the campfire chats were coming back. I'll have to talk to with JM and Ross. I know they kind of they've been doing those weekly and then bi-weekly for a while, and they just had a lot of other stuff to do, so we kind of put a pause on that. But I'll talk to them and see when they want to bring those back.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So moving on to the Fading Suns game, what can you tell us about that, Robert?
So we recently posted an update with some images of the premium products in the Fading Suns Game On page. So definitely check that out. That included the nice neoprene mats, the aluminum D20, and some of the actual coins for what are they called? Victory points and things like that.
Right.
So definitely check those out. Recently, Bill and Andrew did their heretical musings, which we do the first and third Thursdays of the month at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And last week they talked about running dramas in space. So what it's like to kind of go through the now I can't think of the name of it, the portals, what are they called? Jump gates. And JM and the crew of the Oh Boy are back. They're streaming every other Thursday at 5:30 Pacific. This week, said on the run in Chaput, the crew was spotted. Jexa was shot and Calypso was captured. Can they regroup, rescue the captain, and find Jexa's dad, or will Direct capture Jexa and control of the Engineers Guild? Tune in tonight to find out. So that'll be tonight at 5:30 Pacific.
Terrific. So moving on to Torg Eternity, we've got some great news going on there. The Tharcold books have been seen in the wild here in the U.S. Yes, you've heard it here. Backers are getting their boxes, and if you've got yours, break it out, take some pictures, and share those online. So we know that people have been anxiously awaiting that with all of the delays. We apologize for those, but the books are definitely getting around, and the packages are arriving. So that's good news. As for backers of Aurora, they got a bunch of the preview PDFs immediately after that crowdfunding ended last week. And if you're a backer, check out your email and drive-through RPG account and see if you didn't get them. If you didn't get them, just let us know, because everybody should have gotten those preview PDFs already. Our streaming content continues for Torg Eternity. The Horseman is every other Tuesday at 5:30 Pacific on Twitch, and that's followed up by an upload to YouTube. The game is game mastered by John Matthew DeFoge and features Ross Watson, who is an original designer of the Torg game. So if you haven't checked that out, give it a whirl, and you can catch the last session on YouTube, and we're going to share that link as well, right, Robert?
Yep.
Just as an update, the Horsemen barely survived their first hour in Aurora. They must discover who this warden is and how he figures into the plans of Gregory, Volkov, and the Gaunt Man. But the longer they stay in Aurora, the more likely the Cosm will seek to slay them. Do they have the support and the vigor to survive the Gaunt Man's realm? So that's where we sort of stand with the Horsemen right now.
Yeah.
So they're running in Aurora in support of the crowdfunding we just had, and it's been interesting. If you want to see more Aurora, WebDM played 3 sessions in Aurora. You can find out what happened on the WebDM Plays YouTube channel, which I'll post up right now.
Awesome. Last night, is that true? Was this last night?
It was last night.
Lehman Crafton streamed the second episode of The Blood on the Blasted Land Tharcold Adventure on the Roll Hit Die Twitch channel. That's every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, and we will post a link to that as well.
Yeah. So let's get on to Aventuria, the reason Christian is here. So the thing we recently last week we talked about, we are relaunching the Aventuria Extraordinary Heroes crowdfunding that will start on March 2nd on Kickstarter. And as soon as Eric has gotten the preview up and we get that link, we will be sure to share that so that everyone can subscribe to that and get notified as soon as it shows up. So Christian, we've already talked about some things you've done with us with the Myth IP. Tell us about kind of your involvement with Aventuria and really the industry in general. How did you get involved in the industry?
Well, so it all started in the 90s when I worked for Games Workshop in Nottingham for a couple of years as a translator and layouter, as it were. And but then I moved back to Germany and started to work for Fantasy Productions, and a name that should go down in infamy or something like that.
And pro.
Well, let's say we didn't end up with the best image in America, but that is a long time ago. And but in those days, we did some great things as well, including Shadowrun 4th edition, where I had the pleasure to work with Rob Boyle and the gang to really make a great new edition back then, 4th edition. And meanwhile, I was working on the for Fantasy Productions. I was working on the Dark Eye miniatures game. Sadly, which is not there anymore. And but then I moved on to first I did my own role-playing game. Yay! Everyone should do that. It's called Freelancer, and I think in the meanwhile, like 2-3 years ago, I did a Torg version of that. I ported it basically to the Torg rules and made it available on the Infiniverse. So if you want to check that out,
that's cool. I'll definitely find that and share that.
Yeah. But back in those days, I did like 3 versions of that. And then I moved on yet again because Marcus was coming around with adventure games. So we did like 3 different series. One was called John Sinclair. I don't think the name is very familiar to English, even though it's an English name. You can look it up. It's John Sinclair, the adventure game. That was great.
Right.
That did Justifiers, which is also quite an obscure old, I think from the 80s or 90s RPG from England. It's called Justifiers, and we did an adventure game for that. So that's sci-fi. Works really great. So you explore a planet as a topic. And then we moved on with Capornia, which is like a humorous fantasy adventure game, really rules light. You can basically play it right out of the book. Just read 5 minutes, then you can start playing. And that one is also available on drive-thru. I think it's pay what you want. So if you want to check it out, and it's called Capornia. And for example, one of them is this thing here. Can you see it? The Island Capornia Man.
Okay.
So that kind of gives you an idea of the style of this game. So it's really easy, really fast to play. It worked really great on conventions. And we moved on from there to Aventuria. So we wanted to add cards because these adventure games were more like normal role-playing games, but made easier for the game master. And with Aventuria, we wanted to do something that combines like a dual game where people can play each other, and a cooperative mode where you don't need a game master, but still have this RPG experience.
Right.
And so this is where we are right now.
Nice. And just looking at, I went to look for your, what was it called? The freelancer conversion to Torg, and I did not realize you did so much. You have so much on the Torg Infiniverse. So I'm going to post the link here. But there's a ton of stuff. Not only the freelancer stuff. You did a Torg adventure game. Tell us about that.
That is also based on the adventure game idea.
Okay.
The normal adventure games use D6 because that's it's made so all kinds of players can play it. So basically, you can play it with your dad and mom, or with your uncles and aunts, or even your grandma if she's into this kind of things, and even if she's not. So board gamers, everyone who wants the RPG experience without any background knowledge or having to read like 300 pages of books, this for them it's perfect. And well, Torg is already, as a role-playing game, very easy to understand, very fast game. But this is then what I did is port the adventure rules to Torg. So instead of the D6, it's then a D20, of course, and it has the possibility rules woven into there. And it has the same style, so you can play it right out of the book. I think that's also pay what you want. So check it out.
Nice. Yeah, and there's like, it looks like there was some adventures, like several episodes here, like up to seven episodes for Storm Wolves adventures. So you've got a lot of stuff on Torg. We should have been talking to you about Torg stuff too earlier. Wow.
Well, we can do this some other time.
Yeah,
let's focus on Aventuria.
Yeah, definitely.
The great new thing.
Yeah, for sure. So so Extraordinary Heroes is the next crowdfunding that we're doing. What can you tell us about your involvement with it?
Yeah, so the game itself, Aventuria, is made by Lukas Zach and Michael, what's his name? Michael Palm. Yeah. And so they created the basic rules, and together with Marcus and some other people, I'm responsible for the cooperative mode and including the adventures. So the adventures were more or less all written by myself, I think, most of them at least. I know that Eric did a couple of them back in the days, and some other contributions. But for the upcoming Kickstarter, there's, I think, a total of like 8 adventures in there, and so they were all written by me, and then of course tested by a large group of people to make them actually work, you know. So it's not enough to just make a nice, interesting and dramatic adventure text. The rules themselves also have to work. We have quite some stuff in there. Oh boy. So it's a huge thing. It's really a lot of stuff in that Kickstarter. But I think the main thing is the solo adventures. So it's Nedime, the Calip's daughter, I think it's called, and Curse of Borberat. So those are. Well, I should step back a little bit and first talk about the number of players you can play this game with. So the rules are made for 1 to 6 heroes. So essentially you can play it with 1 to 6 guys. So you can, most adventures play them with just on your own. And so we have adjusted them so they scale in difficulty with the number of heroes. But usually I would say the best number is 3 to 4. 6 is what we provide in terms of game materials. But you can also play it with 7 or 8 players if you want to. The rules will work. And you can also play it with just 2 people or just 1. But I would usually recommend then that you take 2 or 3 heroes as 1 player. But if you want to, you can also just play with 1 hero. It works, even though the game might behave a little strange here and there, because it's, of course, it scales down so much. And in order to address that, with the Nedime and the Borberat box, with the centerpieces of the new Kickstarter, we did something specifically for solo gaming. So these adventures can also be played with 2 or more players, or 2 or more heroes, I should say. And but they are specifically made so that they are also interesting for yourself, sitting alone at a table. So you get enough entertainment out of the game, and we do that by using these game boards, whereas essentially. Nedime, the Calip's daughter, is like what's it called? Arabian Nights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's take a look at the art here real quick for that, because we've got that. So here's the art for the cover.
Yeah, it's the poster side. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then this is the game board that you're talking about. So go ahead and
let us know
what we're looking at here.
Yeah. Exactly, and there you can in the middle you see the where you can place the cards, and you enter the palace of the mage sultan. Is this called Calip or Sultan? I'm not super sure.
Yeah, the
Caliph. Yeah.
So basically the evil guy who is like a super evil sorcerer. He's called Hasrabal, the king of the winds, and he's super magic powerful. Not really a villain, but some villainish kind of guy, and he controls everything in this palace. And you are there with a mission to free Nedime, and that's the girl in the picture. So you have to look for her, find her, and then defeat her guardians and escape. And the palace is basically made up of these room cards, who are first they are turned face down. So when you enter the room, the rules are a little more specific than that, but when you enter a room, you turn up the card, you turn the card around, and you look on the what kind of room it is, and you play the room. And this way you move through the palace and looking for Nedime, and you cannot do this in one go because the palace is too big. So you have to flee at some point and then return the next night. So you have to go there like 8 or 10 nights in succession. And each time you explore a little bit more of the palace and speak to its denizens and unlock certain achievements that will then help you overcome greater opponents that you might not be able to defeat when you go in the first night. So you have to strategize a little bit and all of these cards are also have a little story on them. So because it's the Arabian Nights, so it's right, the Tales of 1001 Nights. That's the inspiration there. So you also live this story, become part of the story, and hopefully in the end you will free Nadime. That's the main goal. And this whole interaction is completely new for Aventuria, and it will make the game very interesting, even if you're just the one player.
So with that board kind of layout, do you just sort of pick randomly of like which card you want to choose, or how does that work?
Yes, there is you start in this what's it called, the center place.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't remember the translation of the card, but you have essentially one card which is the entry point.
Okay.
Right.
Which you place on a square of your liking, and then you arrange the other cards in a random fashion around it. And the thing is, each night it's a different setup. It's random.
Okay.
So the idea here is that this super magic sultan changes and illusionizes the whole palace. So it's never the same. So it's a magic palace. So you have that against you as a hero, and then you move from this entry point, and you can move in any one of the four directions, and then you uncover the card and play the card. But at the same time, this is you do a Aventuria combat. So
right.
Once per round, you may move by one square, or in this case, one room, and explore more of the palace. So
right.
In this case, you play maybe 10 rounds before you have to run out of the palace, because by that time the opponents have the number of them has grown so much that you wouldn't stand a chance. So in this adventure, you have some kind of escape rule. So you can run out, but you have to be near the exit, because otherwise you're in trouble. And because you can, of course, also lose the adventure. That's would be one way of losing it. And we handled this in for the Nadime. We handled it that you are then captured by the evil wizard, and you may continue the game, because all the achievements that you have already unlocked, you may continue playing it, but your specific hero was captured, so you have to pick any other Aventuria hero of your collection and continue the adventure with her. And this way it's kind of like a tag team, and as long as you still have heroes left that weren't captured, you can still finish the adventure.
Nice. In the chat, let's see, some people had some questions. Lady Caro asked, is the game based off the old first edition solo adventure book?
First edition solo adventure book.
Yeah.
What is that? You mean the Dark Eye, or?
I think so. I think that's what they're talking about. Yeah. And then other people were saying, yeah, it was. And then something about 7 Veils. I don't know what that is.
7 Veils, yeah. Okay, let me unpack that.
Sure.
First, there's an adventure called Sylvanas Befreiung, which means saving Sylvana, and that is one of the short adventures in the basic box Aventuria. And at the start of that, there in the Dark Eye version, there was a solo version of solo adventure. So I have to say, the Saving Sylvana is more or less, I think, the first ever the Dark Eye adventure ever. Back then in the 80s, 84 or 82 or whenever that was. That was the first adventure that the game came with in its earliest box. And so we also did that for Aventuria then, Aventuria version where you fight against the kobold. And that, even before that, there was this little solo adventure where you, just learning how role-playing games work in general, had the chance to just walk around like a little house and fight some rats and the goblin, I think. And so to learn the adventure in this solo style, this choose your own adventure style. And then Saving Sylvana was the first group adventure. And Nedime, the solo box now is really an Aventuria adventure. So that means you play inside the Aventuria combat rules mechanic. So you have the first round, you pick up your cards, you put down endurance cards, and then you can play permanent cards and one-shot cards, and so on. And then it's the opponent's turn. So there are palace guards that essentially follow you around. Well, abstractly, they are not on the board, but there is a row of henchmen and a row of opponents, I think it's called, where these are. So you have to fight them, so they don't grow out of proportion, and at the same time explore the palace. So that is like an add-on rule to the normal Aventuria combat rules. So you play the cooperative mode, adventure mode, and with the normal Aventuria combat rules, and as an add-on, you have this map that we have just shown, and for the story elements. And so that has none of what you would expect from the different entries in a choose your own adventure style adventure. But we are working on something exactly like that for the current German Aventuria crowdfunding that we are doing right now. So there we actually go that route and do the choose your own adventure, but it's still a group adventure, which you can also play with just hero, as we said. But you can play it with 1 to 6 heroes as usual, but you have these stations where you choose where to go, right? The decision stages. I'm just making up these words right now because we haven't translated it yet. Just being finished in German, yeah.
Close enough.
It will take some time. It's huge. It's really big, and certainly something to look forward to. So we then have all kinds of mechanics that we can then talk about when that's coming up. But that might take some while. So Nedime works differently by moving around on this map and turning over cards. And once you solve them, you get then a little story card and a little boon, a little achievement. And every time you turn over that card in the following night, you get the little bonus that makes it easier for you to fight the larger opponents. That's kind of how the mechanic works. Yeah.
Cool. So if anybody has any more questions in chat, feel free to throw them in there.
Yeah, I hope I answered the actual question.
I think you did. Yeah. Eric recently put up an article with a download for Tabletop Simulator so people can try out another hero, the Magistra of Alchemy. So definitely check that out on the website. I will put the link here. Have you, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so as I already said, the centerpieces are the Nedime box and the Curse of Borberat box. Curse of Borberat works similar to Nedime, has a little bit different backstory, other mechanics, but you also have a map where you turn over rooms, and this is like a mage tower of one of the Borberat, which is one of the biggest, baddest, I think even worse than the other guy that I was just talking about, actually. So Borberat is really like Sauron, essentially, the Sauron of Aventuria.
Okay.
And so you walk around in his in the remnant of his tower. So, and then you have your adventure there. In other than that, it works similar to the Nedime box, but it's also a solo adventure that you could also play with a larger group if you want to. But those also the centerpieces, and then around them we have like 4 hero boxes, I would call them. So the smaller boxes, each of them comes with a new hero. One of which is Niam Hazanes, the alchemist lady that you can play on Tabletop Simulator, and the Magistra of Alchemy. And then there are 3 others. If memory serves, one of them is an explorer, like an Indiana Jones kind of guy, and one is a blessed one of the Nameless One, which is really, really cool. So talking about evil characters, so you can actually play one yourself. And we also added rules how you can do that in the context of the game, which is actually made for good heroes. But so this is kind of a special rule that you can still do it. And the 4th one is Veil Dancer, I think is the translation.
Yeah.
So it's in the same spirit as Nedime, the Nedime box, but it's a thing of its own. It's a little Veil Dancer hero box. Because in the Dark Eye you can also play someone like her, where you have magic dances. So the dancing is magic, and it has a magic property, and can give you some effects. We ported that over to Aventuria, so you can do that in Aventuria as well now. And with each of these 4 heroes, we also squeezed into this tiny little box 1 adventure each. So the Veil Dancer has her own adventure. Well, it's a group adventure where she is usually meant to take part in as one of which makes sense because you just got this box with her in it, so you probably want to try that character. And so it has the same theme. So her theme is a little like sexy stuff going on there in that adventure. I'm sure people will be able to explore more about that in the upcoming Kickstarter. Then with the Magistra of Alchemy, we have an adventure where you go against the villain of the previous adventure, which was Inn of the Black Boar, or Black Boar Inn? No, the Inn of the Black Boar. Where this Count Gryfax, I think is his name, and where you fought against him, but you never really had a chance to defeat him personally. So he always got away. And this time you can actually defeat him personally and get some payback there. And you're supported by some of the dwarves who were previously enslaved by him and had to work in his mines. So you have this huge dwarven army on your side, and the adventure is works a little bit like classic German build-up games or like real-time strategy games where you build houses and that have abilities, and then you can improve the houses, and they improve your combat capabilities. And then you tear down a whole castle where the evil count is hiding in. So that's this adventure. Then the explorer has his own very much Indiana Jones like adventure, where you can find out a lot about how the secrets of Aventuria around what's it called, Salem, where the Arats, the lizard men live, and it has a little bit of Cthulhu vibes in there, I would say. But it's I think it's interesting. Definitely something to try. And the 4th, what was the Nameless One? Exactly. So we needed to find an adventure that would be playable for a group where there is a blessed one of the Nameless One in there, who's really like a really evil guy. And so in this adventure, this is a heist adventure. So the adventurers go against the orcs in this case. So in the orc land in the north, there's a city called Kitsara, and that is like the orc major capital, the major capital, if you want to call it that. But it's a pretty big city, and there's the main guy of the orcs, whose name escapes me right now. But your mission is to go into his treasure chamber, which is also his where he resides usually. But you use festivities and things go on in the background. It's really like a heist movie, and you must find your way in there and then grab as much of the treasure as you can and then escape. So that's the kind of mission where a nameless one, blessed one, would work together with like a regular roguish kind of hero group. So yeah, I think that's also very interesting. You learn a little bit about Aventuria as well while playing, so it's a good match.
Awesome.
Oh my
Nice,
god!
Yeah. So this crowdfunding, as you can hear, has tons of expansions, tons of adventures.
Loads of it.
It's going to be awesome. So for those of you that might, that have, maybe listening to this kind of interested but have not played Aventuria yet, recently the Dice Tower gave a review of Aventuria. You can find it on the website, and I will post a link right now. So if you want to know what Aventuria is about, you can check that out. And also, as of yesterday, I haven't watched these videos yet, but as of yesterday, iHeart Board Games posted 2 unboxing videos for the Life Wheel and the base game reviews as well. So check those out. And then both of them will also be doing some more unboxings and reviews of things that are in the Extraordinary Heroes crowdfunding. So definitely, you can watch out for those unboxings to see what you'll get if you back this Kickstarter. So
Awesome.
I'm not seeing any other questions here in the chat, and so with that, I think we will call it for the day. So thanks for watching the Ulisses World Show. If you'd like to chat more with Ulisses folks or other fans, please check out our Discord community. I'll throw that link up now. And if you like the show, please follow and subscribe to our channels on Twitch and YouTube, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss anything. Come back next week on Thursday, March 4th at 9 a.m. Pacific for more Ulisses World's news. For Ulisses Spiel, I'm Robert Aducci, and this is Timothy Brown and Christian Lonsing. Thanks for watching.
Christian, thanks so much. It was great chatting with you today. Thank you.
Thanks, Christian. Bye.
Bye-bye.